Ladies and gentlemen, the Canadian men's national basketball team is finally legit as they just beat the brakes off the number 5 ranked team in the world, France, 95-65 in their opening match of the FIBA World Cup. Justin Pooni Noor Zainab here on a Friday, and what a glorious Friday morning it was for Canadian basketball fans.
Oh, Canada,
nobody wants to hear you sing.
Our home and native land, full of basketball talent and athletes and winners. Guys, Canadian basketball is here. It's not up and coming. It's not going to be here tomorrow, the day after, the year after. It's actually here right now. And what did I tell you? Canada, don't sleep on them. This group, even against France, don't sleep on them. Even if they go further from this point on, do not sleep on them because their roster put together is short of amazing. Is nothing short of amazing.
Yeah.
What Shai did today and what this team did defensively to stop the powerhouses of France without, mind you, a real center to have against Rudy Gobert. Don't even get
Kelly
me started.
Olynyk had 18 points today.
A real big match Rudy Gobert. Is
well,
Kelly Olynyk going to be your starting center for an NBA team? No, but I'm saying without a real big on the roster, I was going to say the Raptors, but the Team Canada blew out France by 30 points. This game was unattainable for France ever since the second half came around, and all of that is because of this team and their determination and them coming out on court in the second half and putting defense first. Kelly Olynyk drawing fouls. Dillon Brooks, we know what he can do. But everybody around them too, Shai, Nickeil Alexander, even Trey Ball Hands coming off the bench. They were able to do so much here that I think this is setting up a great journey for Canada in this tournament. And this could be somewhere where they might end up, they might be the last team standing.
Okay. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Some numbers to run by all of you guys. Of course, 95-96, the final score. Canada outscored France 52-25 in the second half. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, as Noor mentioned, led the way with 27 points, 13 rebounds, was absolutely on fire in the second half. Kelly Olynyk had 18. You mentioned defense, Noor. Shout out to Lou Dort and Dillon Brooks. Evan Fournier had 19 points in the first half. You know how many points he had in the second half? Two.
I don't think he had 1 point in the third quarter.
Exactly. Canada dismantled France. It came out in the second half absolutely on fire defensively.
France had 8 points.
8 points. 25-8. They outscored them. And this was Dillon Brooks' post game, and I love this quote from Dillon Brooks. He said, "Putting the world on notice that we're not playing. We're ready to play. It's no joke." Well, Canada proved they are no joke no more in the world of basketball as it was such a dominating performance, Noor. And I said yesterday that France was probably going to win this group because they've all played together. They understand the FIBA rules. Well, Canada proved me wrong because now they are in the driver's position to win this group and go 3-0 and set up a much easier path now for the knockout stages. This is exactly what I wanted to see. Credit to Jordi Fernandez. Credit to all the players because they came out and they played a great game.
A massive credit to Jordi Fernandez and the coaching staff because this is, again, like we know, this is a new team. We understand the talent level that's there, but we've seen this everywhere. You can't just have talent and expect the talent to work together on the court. But this team is, including the coaching staff, knowing where to put the right guys and just expecting them to be the best version they can be, while also helping their teammates around them. Big shout out to the coaching staff and just for this team to really come up and persevere and show that yes, we're young, yes, we need reps, yes, we're hungry, but it doesn't mean that we're not a team to be counted out right now just because yes, we have the talent, but reps don't really mean anything when those reps can come together.
So I'm big on what people are saying and talk about Canada basketball down south. So Mark Spears, one of the biggest basketball journalists and people that talk about the game basketball down south, tweeted out right after the game, Canada basketball has finally arrived on the world stage as a true power and potential rival to the USA. And I think everybody in the world that saw this game, I saw it all over Twitter, all over NBA, various NBA Twitter accounts, that Canada's getting love. Not only, like you mentioned, they have the NBA talent, but they put it together and they dismantle it. I also wanted to say this. I know this past season, everybody kind of distanced Dillon Brooks from Canada, and he was the most hated man in the NBA. right? And, credit to that, I've bought into that propaganda too. But right now, if Dillon Brooks plays the way he played today, this man could run for Prime Minister of Canada and probably win the election. Because what he has done is he's brought that same chippiness, that same mentality that he had in Memphis, and that same underdog and pest mentality to Team Canada.
Yeah.
He put Rudy Gobert on a poster earlier in the game. He was at 12 points, 5 of 6, plus 33 in the game. Dillon Brooks played great. And to have two wing defenders in Lou Dort and Dillon Brooks, Canada has a massive advantage over pretty much every team in this tournament because they can match up against guys like Evan Fournier. Now, it's going to get stiffer if they play the U.S. and the guys like Ant and Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton and Brandon Ingram, but they have quality NBA caliber wing defenders, and that is something that's really good for Canada. And then you have a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who we know, first team All-NBA, can average 30 in his sleep. He almost did that tonight, but it was the rebounding, the facilitating, the whole game from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We didn't see a great game from RJ Barrett, but we didn't need to because the rest of the team stepped up, Noor. And I think that right there was such an important thing that Canada did today, and it was an impressive win. Full marks across the board for Canada.
And for Dillon Brooks, too, I think he's the kind of player where you don't like him if he's playing for a different team, if he's playing your team, right? But if he's on your team, how can you not like him? Because this is the guy who gets on the court, and he may not have the God-given talent that some of the NBA superstars do, but he puts the work in by literally putting his body on the line, by making those plays, by being a gritty guy, by also just being annoying. And it does come out on top for the other guys because nobody likes to be a part of like a rat scheme, right? That's what he ends up becoming. But if he's on your team and he's producing winning results, the other team will find him annoying. Absolutely. But you're going to think that this is the guy that we need to have on the roster 1,000%. Because he's a pit bull. He gets the job done and he puts his body on the line for that. And I think that how far Canada has come right now, the only other powerhouse, as we said before, it would be the States. And if you look at the States, like obviously their team right now is not, indicative of what they're actually capable, what they actually have in terms of talent, in the States with LeBron, Curry, all those guys. And Canada is not at that level just yet, but we're also missing Jamal Murray. We are missing Andrew Wiggins. And we're in this generation, we're in the next generation of stars that are just about to come up where they're not at the same level as LeBron and Curry just yet. But that's because they haven't had the reps that LeBron and Curry have had yet, right? Like they're also in their prime and they're past their prime, but they're the superstars of today. Exactly. But Canada is almost like the toddler watching their big brother do what they're doing, but they know that they can get to that point and they might even one day maybe exceed. Who knows? It's a great day for Canada basketball. We don't have that population.
Yeah, and that's to challenge the U.S. That's still a long ways away. But what I do think, what you mentioned is, I think seeing the other Canadian players like a Wiggins and a Jamal Murray. Again, Wiggins has never really always committed to the Canadian program. Always, it's been kind of wishy-washy. He hasn't. Murray, of course, didn't play because of injury. But what I believe this tournament, if Canada has success and they can do, is this. It wakes up every Canadian basketball player across NBA landscape, right? And be like, you know what? I want to commit to this program. It's kind of like when Kobe Bryant committed to Team USA for the 2008 Olympics and was one of the first players to. Everybody else committed after that because they saw the potential. And after today, if you're a Canadian basketball player, how can you not now have faith in this system? How can you not have faith that in this program that we can beat some of the best teams in the world and dismantle them?
And you want to see that because you want to see the next generation of kids who are growing up here get to watch this and know that there's a talent, there's a calling for this, right? Like there's the market for this. People are into basketball and basketball is a big sport where you can, if you're gonna play for that. And I mean, even for me, like there's kids on my street now who used to have hockey nets on their driveway, but now they've kind of swapped that out for a basketball net. Absolutely. And every single day I go home and I hear the bounce of a basketball. It's annoying, yes, but it shows me that the sport has come so far. And as we grow and as the next generation comes about, I think it's going to be I think it's going to be common. It's just going to be a thing Team Canada, we expect them to make it far. It's going to get to that point at some point.
And that's the next step is now that you have expectations, can you live up to them? Because now, Sunday, they play Lebanon at 5:30 in the morning. They're expected to win that game. And not just win the game, to dominate them, right? And I want to talk one more thing with Dillon Brooks. I'm sure Ime Udoka loved what he saw from Dillon Brooks, that defensive abilities he had, because we know how Ime Udoka wants to run. He'll earn that big contract with the Houston Rockets if he plays defense like he did today. Noor, I was wrong. Well, actually, I wasn't wrong.
Yes, you were wrong.
Did I pick France to win?
You picked France to win, yes.
Oh, I did, didn't
Yes.
I? Okay, I was wrong,
Yep.
right? But as a proud Canadian, I was humbly and graciously accept my defeat, right?
Sure.
Canada impressed me very well. And I think that going forward, if they can play as well as they did today, they could cruise to the final.
Yeah, well,
right?
I mean, don't like.
Competition is gonna get stiffer,
Yeah,
though.
absolutely. Also, just don't knock out Lebanon either. I know they've had a tough couple of runs. They played Latvia today and they lost that. It was 109-70. Sorry about that, Lebanon. That kind of sucks. But when they were qualifying for this in their group, they were at the top of their group against Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia. They were 5-1 in that whole tournament where they were playing that group. So I know they've got the talent, but unfortunately, I think Team Canada just has the star power that some teams just might not be able to replicate. And unfortunately, I think Lebanon kind of falls under that umbrella too.
Yeah, so let's go over some of the scores just from today to recap. So Italy beat Angola. Austria dismantled Finland as expected. Montenegro defeated Mexico. You mentioned Latvia beat Lebanon. Cat and the Dominican Republic beat the Philippines. And I believe Germany defeated Japan. And then Lithuania defeated Egypt. And I think there's 8 games today. One more with Puerto Rico and Sudan. And then tomorrow is a full slate of games. Of course, we'll be back on Monday to recap Canada's game against Lebanon and preview their final group stage match against Latvia on Tuesday. Keep it locked for Hoop Talks for all things Canada basketball this FIBA World Cup.